New rumors about Deadpool 2, X-Force, and the new X-Men film apparently called X-Men Supernova have us all asking the question, where's Fox taking their X-Men franchise? I'm Hector Navarro, and this is Screen Junkies News. Hey Internet. Last night, Collider reported that writer-director Drew Goddard had been brought in to work on the script for Deadpool 2 as a consultant, with Ryan Reynolds tweeting that the original writers, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, are still very much writing the screenplay and that they're, quote, the heartbeat of the whole operation. Also, writer-director Joe Carnahan is rumored to be working on an X-Force script with Ryan Reynolds, and that writer-producer Simon Kinberg is rumored, you see the theme, to be making his directorial debut on the next X-Men film set in the 90s, and apparently it's going to focus on the Dark Phoenix saga. Here to talk with us about where Fox is taking their X-Men franchise is Miss Movies herself, Brianne Chandler, and our very own Victor Torres. What's up, guys?
Hey!
Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Real quick before we start, favorite X-Men character, go.
Ooh.
It's gotta be Wolverine.
Wolverine,
Oh yeah,
go.
Wolverine.
Oh, you guys just like movies.
Sorry.
That's great. That's fine.
It's predictable.
I'm like an Iceman guy. All right, that's great. Let's get into it.
I
First
love
of all,
it when he takes the Coke and like of Wolverine's and just like hands it
great?
back to him so that way
So awesome.
it can get cold.
Omega
That's
level
my
mutant.
favorite. I want
Omega
someone to
level
do
mutant.
that for me.
Ah, right? That would be fantastic. But where there's mutants aren't real in the real world, unless you count webbed feet. Before we start, I have to mention this. The rumors that we're talking about right now, they were all reported by Collider, Steve Weintraub over at Collider, and it's all rumors right now. This is something that should be taken with a grain of salt, and I think one of two things are happening. We were mentioning this before. Either studios are allowing some of these leaks to happen on purpose. Why? So that X-Men is in the public consciousness right now, so they
Right.
can see how people are sort of reacting to some of this news. Or there really is a case of Steve at Collider knows people that are working on these films, and he's having conversations, and then he's tweeting stuff out, or rather releasing the information without citing his sources, because then they wouldn't be his sources anymore. One of those two
Sure.
things are happening. I mean, do you guys have a take on that before we get into
I
it?
think there's more rumors in one day than there was in my entire run of high school. So it's really overwhelming at this point. But I think you're right. Like, obviously, he doesn't want to cite his source and potentially get them in trouble.
Sure.
And I also think that, with the news of Batman coming out, X-Men's like, hey, what about us? We're still around. We're still doing stuff.
It's one of the two.
Check it
It's
out.
one of the two.
Logan.
Listen, yeah.
I would have to agree. I mean, just not reiterate everything she said, but yeah, pretty much like I think it could be both.
Sure. Absolutely. So first question, guys. Bringing in Drew Goddard, apparently, to help Deadpool 2. Now, Ryan Reynolds had to tweet that clarification saying the original writers are still on it. They're still the lifeblood. So this is a case where maybe Drew Goddard is punching up the script, as opposed to taking a whole pass is a potential. This is a possibility. But just thinking about Drew Goddard, first of all, is this mean that the script is in trouble, or is this just how Hollywood works?
I like to think that it's just probably how it works at this point. I mean, Deadpool was a huge success. They've lost Tim Miller for the sequel. There's already a lot of pressure on it. And I think bringing in Drew Goddard, Cabin in the Woods is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
The Martian's awesome. I mean, it's not going to hurt it. And if I had to guess, it would just be punching up the script. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think they want it to be the best product that it can be.
Sure.
Right.
And film is collaborative.
Yeah,
that's how it works. That's
absolutely.
how you have to get this stuff together. Brianne?
I do like that Ryan Reynolds did say, like, no, these guys are still the
Sure.
heart of it.
Really cool.
Just to make sure that we all know that, Drew's coming
Rumor
in.
control.
And rumor control.
Yeah.
That's what I needed in high school, the rumor control. But anyways, just coming in to make sure that we can get the best script out of it that we possibly can. And like you said with Cabin in the Woods, that was one of my favorite films in the horror genre. And I feel like I'm excited to see what he can do with this.
And Tad, what you were saying, Brianne, not just to get the best film, but also get it in under deadline, because they want to maybe try to have this movie out next year. And there's apparently a May production start date for Deadpool 2. So it could just be, getting stuff in under the deadline. Drew Goddard, let's just talk about his filmography a little bit. We had Cabin in the Woods. You guys mentioned The Martian. There's also Cloverfield and World War Z and a little show called Daredevil for Netflix.
Yes.
I mean, he's worked with red-suited Marvel superhero characters before. Do we think that he's a good fit for this?
I think he's the perfect fit for this. I mean, he's kind of his career's kind of stretched across different genres. But I think you kind of have that kind of punchy dialogue from like Cabin in the Woods and The Martian.
Sure.
I think it fits perfectly with Deadpool.
Which can still sometimes be serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Drew Goddard can do that stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely got that range of
Yeah.
going from serious of The Martian to Cabin in the Woods.
Speaking
to Daredevil.
Absolutely. Speaking of serious, let's flip it over to a franchise that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with, but it could mean the start of an R-rated X-Men line of movies. And we're talking X-Force, that apparently director Joe Carnahan is apparently coming in and working on the script for this, possibly with the intent of him directing at a later point. Apparently working on the script with Ryan Reynolds, which means that Deadpool might make an appearance in the X-Force team. There's many iterations of the X-Force team in Marvel Comics, and a lot of them do feature Deadpool. But the X-Force has traditionally been like an R-rated squad. These guys are sort of mercenaries. They're people who will cross that line. They're mutant characters who, although they're involved in the world of X-Men and the mutants, they get dirty stuff done. You've had characters like Wolverine on the team. You've had Archangel, Psylocke. Cable has traditionally been their leader. Cable is like the foil, the straight man, the voice of reason to Deadpool's more comedic, irreverent character. And Cable has a long history with the X-Men, but he is this sort of leader, just badass, more straight-laced type character. So this is traditionally been sort of an edgier R-rated X-Men team. Do you guys think that Fox has looked at the success of Deadpool and gone, let's do a team?
Yep. I think absolutely. I think that's exactly what this is. I'm super excited about this. Like I'm all for R-rated superhero movies. I think that's kind of where this is progressing. And I think it kind of does give them something to. I mean, it's really hard to say like compete with Marvel, but Marvel's not going to go R-rated. Marvel's, it's very much Disney still, and that's fine. They're great films.
It's not about competing. It's about finding, if you have a franchise of stuff to adapt, it's about finding the things that they have that are advantageous, that other...
The balance.
The balance, because in the same case, Warner Brothers can look at their DC superheroes, and we have this, and this, and we have legacy characters, and we have the Justice League, and we have all these different things that Marvel might not have, or other competing, movie studios might have with their franchises. And Fox absolutely has X-Force, which is great, which is really great.
I have no idea what X-Force was until you gave me the synopsis, and I said, oh, so it's Suicide Squad only good. So I'm looking forward to that.
Some kind of X-Force.
So Joe Carnahan, and just a real quick side thing, guys. I mean, if you guys have some ideas, please feel free to share, but I wanted to ask the internet, who do you want to see on an X-Force team? Certain characters have been rumored, and the rumor is that Cable is going to be appearing in Deadpool 2, possibly played by Kyle Chandler, possibly maybe Stephen Lang is what all the fans want, the guy from Avatar.
I would
awesome.
love Brigitte Nielsen.
Brigitte
it's
Nielsen
not going to happen.
She would make a kick-ass Cable. So would Keira Knightley. Honestly, so would Keira Knightley. But with Cable apparently showing up in Deadpool 2, that seems like that's a natural progression, stepping stone to an X-Force film. But what characters do you want to see? There's Boom Boom, Warpath, Siren, Domino. I mean, Wolverine, but he's retired maybe. X-23 maybe.
I love Teenage Warhead.
Sunspot, Cannonball. Let's get some Sunspot in there. That'd be awesome. Wolfsbane, Shatterstar. There's a ton of characters. Who do you guys want to see on a squad? Let's move on to the next rumored exciting news. A new X-Men film, rumored to be called X-Men Supernova. And the other thing that we're hearing about these rumors is that Simon Kinberg, how do we feel about that?
I'm sorry. I just think of Oasis and their song Supernova.
And X-Men Supernova in the sky. Yeah, great. We were just singing that before we started rolling. So Simon Kinberg, who is a writer-producer, he has been with the X-Men franchise since X-Men The Last Stand. He is a creator and a director-producer on Star Wars Rebels. He was also a producer on Fox's Fantastic Four. How do we feel about the rumor that Simon Kinberg is going to be giving us his directorial debut with this next X-Men film? Are you guys excited about that? Are you trepidatious?
I'm still gonna. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm still going to see it.
Sure.
It's just weird. This is his first movie that he's directing, and I know he's had a huge career, and I know that he's been with X-Men for years now. But his first film is going to be.
That's huge.
Like that's really big. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm keeping an open mind about it, but it does seem like we're rushing things a little bit, Simon. Like, let's start small and build from there.
Do a couple indie dramas or something. Yeah,
that would be great.
There's some comedies, something like that would be fantastic.
I am a little worried because I looked at his filmography and I was like, okay, here are some misses such as Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse, Fantastic Four, Jumper, X-Men The Last Stand. That was like that. Once I saw that, I was like, no, please don't.
But there's also some hits. You had X-Men First Class. You had X-Men Days of Future Past.
This Means War, and I do like that movie.
And it's, again, we were having this conversation before. It is tough to tell exactly what any member of a production has contributed to that production. Even if it's the director, it's like, well, did the director just direct a badass script? And in this case, is the director pulling great performances, or is that coming from the cast? And is that the producers? And is that, there's so many moving parts to making a movie, especially movies of this scale, that it's difficult to look at his filmography and go, well, what was Simon Kinberg's contribution for each one of these projects? Maybe all the stuff I love about these movies was Simon. Maybe all the stuff I hated was other people.
I mean, if he brings,
tough to tell.
yeah, I mean, if he brings anything that was in Days of Future Past, like that's to me my favorite X-Men film.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat.
If we have another Days of Future Past ahead of us, like I'm totally down. Like,
Great. And the rumor is that they're tackling the Dark Phoenix saga, which means that Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones is probably going to continue playing Jean Grey, and she's going to turn into the Dark Phoenix. And let's just be real, guys. The people who have tackled this storyline the best outside of the comic books themselves. What are we talking, Victor? Come on.
the Fox 90s cartoon.
There we
hands
go.
down.
X-Men, the animated series.
Hands
Yeah,
down.
they crushed it. The Dark Phoenix. Look at that.
I mean,
the acting, the animation.
I just want to go watch that right now.
It was solid. But the other question is, are we excited about maybe seeing the Dark Phoenix saga done in the same way? They try to kind of do it in X-Men The Last Stand. I mean, look, we're talking about all these potentially R-rated, not X-rated, R-rated X-Men movies. We haven't gotten to X-rated yet, but R-rated X-Men movies, Deadpool, X-Force. Do we still need to see PG-13 X-Men movies?
I think for the main franchise, like X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Supernova, X-Men whatever, I think it would be smart for 20th Century Fox to keep it PG-13. I think that it's smart that they're branching out into more R-rated films, but I think you can cast a wider net with PG-13. I think there's a lot more that they can do, and will probably get more money for a larger film if they go PG-13. And I mean, up to this point, how many X-Men movies have there been? Like 18?
9.
Like,
I think
all
18,
have been
yeah.
pretty much like PG-13 to this point. I don't think it's impossible to do an R-rated X-Men film and have it be successful.
Correct.
I just think at this point it'd just be smarter to keep it PG-13.
Especially if you're doing Sophie Turner, who's appeals to younger audiences.
I mean, the X-Men appeals to younger. The X-Men is about students, about young people. That's what the metaphor is. That's what the analogy is.
Right. I think you got to keep it PG-13 for that reason.
Brienne, would there be a possibility that these two franchises, the sort of R-rated side, PG-13 side, whatever, crossover, would it work? Or is it? Do you think it could work, or is it something that they should keep separate?
Isn't that X-Force? Though?
Possibly.
I mean, I don't know.
With younger, I mean, there's younger characters in that, maybe?
Seeing Deadpool in a PG-13 film totally kills it for me. I mean, that's just X-Men
That
Origins
wouldn't work.
essentially, but I mean, you have one F word in a PG-13 film, and they would tease it a bunch, and maybe someone else would say, I can already picture where it would go.
Sure. But seeing a PG-13 character in an R-rated,
I think that's way
easier.
doable. I think the other way around is nigh impossible.
Agreed. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for helping us talk about these X-Men rumors and where the franchise is going. I'm really excited. I just want to see good movies, man. Logan looks dope.
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
I'm excited.
Great. It looks really
Got
great.
my tickets.
So big thanks to Brienne and Victor for coming on and talking about the X-Men stuff. But we want to know from you guys, what X-Men films are you most excited about? All these rumored movies. Do you think that we're going to see a sort of PG rated R crossover with the bloodier side and the more kid-friendly side? Let us know in the comments below. You can be tweeting at us at SJ News. Be sure to like and subscribe. We've got new videos every single day. You can click on here for more internets. And I'm Hector Navarro. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.